Welcome. Thanks for tuning in to Beit Shalom and our new series, Storytellers, where we give people the opportunity to tell their stories. When we look at the Bible and we look at the Scriptures, we see that God always tells His people to tell the story. Even the story of the Exodus that we didn't physically go through, we're to tell that story as if we went through it ourselves. And when we talk about the gospel message of Yeshua, our Messiah, and what He did for us, we are to tell that story, that gospel story, so that we can spread His kingdom. Furthermore, when we tell our own personal stories of God's interaction in our lives, we continue the gospel message and we let people know that it hasn't ended. So we thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you will be encouraged to share your story as well.
When I was asked to tell my story, or tell like Ed's story of how God's been working in my life, it really just had just tons of stories flow through my mind of just like where God has done something that just made an impact on me that will last forever. And the latest, or the story that kind of like just stands out the most, kind of been brought to me lately a decent amount, was right when we started Beit Shalom. You know, you always feel like you have this commitment to God. You always feel like that your commitment to God is unmatched by others, and that you always feel like that you're doing everything inside your heart that you can for God. But like right the very first week that we were starting this, that we came together and we were actually going to have service on a Sabbath. It was the same week that my daughter was due, and so my daughter we had our daughter as a home birth. We had her at our house, and then there were some complications, and she had to go to the hospital. And she was in the hospital for a few days, I think 3 days actually. And when I was there, I was every day I was just crying because I couldn't hold my daughter. I couldn't do stuff. She almost died. She turned purple, black whenever I bring her to the hospital, and is really something that just broke me. And since then, that's been a normal thing from God. I was always been this person that I'm always put together and always just like that God got it together, and you want people to believe that. And so I would hardly ever cry over anything. I probably count the number of times in my hand I would cry. And in that situation, like every day, I would cry. And since then, God's kind of broken me of being this someone who's always has it together. And in that, I've seen where God's been able to use me to speak to people in humbleness and, in your weakness. And that is where God uses us, is in our weakness, in our dependence on Him. And it's been one of the biggest growth points for me now. It's just like how, one, I saw this inside my daughter, that life is just a second. It can be gone. And He could take us out of this world in a second, and that this life and sin and is life and death. Inside our life, it is life and death. When I came to come do this, that it was serious. If I'm going to come and I'm going to teach, and it is serious, I cannot take it for granted. And whenever I was leaving the hospital, I knew I was supposed to teach a message that same day, and that God laid on my heart while I was there. So my daughter got out of the hospital on that same day. I left the hospital, I was leaving, I drove to here to teach, and I was just right on time. And it is a reminder for me, probably for the rest of my life, how serious it is if I'm going to come and stand to teach. If God lays something on my heart, that I must listen to what He says, and that, man, I must die daily. And I hope that will be encouragement to you all, and maybe not encouragement, just a thought, that, man, every day, look for ways that you are dying to yourself, that you can give up of yourself, and that you can learn to follow God better, and that you can walk after Him, and that you see less of yourself and more of Him, and that people, and that is my cry, is that, which is a scary cry to say, Father, will you make it be where people will see less of me? Because you can ask for that, but for you really to have to give up of yourself is a tough process, and you'll go through much pain for you to get rid of things inside your life that you love, so that people can see more of you, more of Him, and less of you. And that is kind of how God's working with me right now.